for those who can't be here.
Do you take that to be Mark's younger sister?
Yes, yes. Mark's younger sister. So Mark is dealing with family issues and he says, using the revolutionary agreements to help everyone, and I would assume if he was here, including himself, hold it together and keep moving forward. And so Mark, we wish you the best, sending you peace and love and and serenity. Oh, there's Mr. Glenn giving you a Spock fingers. Special energy from Glenn. So, yeah. All right. I just want to take a minute to really send some heartfelt caring to Mark and his family. And I'm glad the agreements are serving you, Mark. Okay. So, how about either of you? How are the agreements serving you, your chosen work or your life or anything else that you want to share?
Well, I will share this because I'm looking for and would appreciate any feedback and contributions to this. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I'm just going to make it a little bit louder. I have this new touch bar that I'm getting used to on my computer. Okay.
So my quest at the moment is how to return to, not how to return, I know how to do that, but any suggestions that anyone might have about returning to conversation with those that participated in our Revolutionary Agreements retreat weekend at the Oracle Institute in Virginia. I'll make what could be a very long story as short as possible.
Okay.
What has just to remind you, all of the management of the Oracle Institute, the founder, Laura George, her mom, Mimi, their volunteer, Katie, and the one person that's been living in their intentional community for a year, Eric, were all a part of the class that, the weekend retreat that we did there. And also Nicole was there, had driven down from Ohio as well. And so there was one other volunteer that was there for one and a half, 2.5 days. It's been interesting because there was a major activity at the Oracle Institute just before we left for Delaware. And it was a part of the original caregivers' visit to the United States. The indigenous tribes of Colombia and Mexico, the Kogis and the Otomi, came to the United States and toured across the United States, culminating in them being a part of the opening ceremony of the Global Climate Action Summit in San Francisco. And the visit to the U.S. was to bring the message to the younger brothers, that's all of us, from the older brothers, about the urgency as they came off of the mountain after 500 years of being on the mountain and living in a pre-Columbian lifestyle. And they visited places across the United States where they wanted to do blessings at sacred sites. The first 5 days was at the Oracle Institute and the Peace Pentagon, where they did ceremony at the New River. And we were a part of that from a distance, and we were on the multi-hour, multi-week calls for months, planning every nook and cranny of this event there where we weren't. And then when they came to Crestone, after they left there, they flew to Denver. We had them come up to Sunrise Ranch. And
I remember that.
And it was just a wonderful evening.
When was this?
This was the week, let's see, we left on the 9th. So this was like this first week of September, because the climate summit was like the 10th. They went on to Crestone, they went on to Los Alamos, and then they went on to San Francisco. And so we got to witness 4 of the people at the Oracle Institute that were part of our weekend retreat. And to say that they forgot every single thing they learned that weekend would be an understatement. there were times when we were on the phone call, on the regular Tuesday morning phone calls, where we would interject and try to bring some things back to center when they got off kilter. But the reports I've received from two of the attendees of that event there, and two attendees from Dominer that we heard from when we got to Dominer, because there were two people from Dominer that were at those events at the Oracle Institute. Very significant in the cosmic shape of things for that dream culture of Dominer to actually spend time with the dream culture of the Kogi and the Otomi.
Wow.
And so from all four of those people, we heard much, much worse about how the agreements were not being lived by those four people.
Mm.
And so I have had, and Laura's report of how the weekend was a completely different report than the other four people's report of what the weekend was like.
The other four,
the other four that were there.
The people who attended.
The attendees.
Two other attendees. And so Noelle and I are very stressed by this because it tells us a lot, and to experience Dominer and the way they've been able to live in community for over 40 years through many changes, through many evolutions, through many different ways of communicating and governing themselves, to be experiencing that for over 2 weeks and to be hearing these reports about how terrible the visit was there because of the way that particularly Laura was treating other people, volunteers, her mother, other people that were there. They're very capable, accomplished people, but were being treated basically as volunteer slaves. Was very disheartening for us. And so I feel like I need to have a conversation. I know I need to have a conversation with Laura. It's not resolve conflicts directly agreement to me because I wasn't in the conflict. And there have been a number of people, four of the people that I've talked to about this, I've done my job and told them, you really need to be talking to Laura. And that's where the solution can be or isn't ever going to happen. But it still weighs heavy on my mind that in my heart, it feels like there is more that I can and should be doing to live the agreements back into this conversation and to the way Laura is operating at this point in her life. And if I didn't care, I could just walk away from it.
Mm-hmm.
I do care and I want to help her. And if she hadn't been through the experience of the agreements and those other three people hadn't been, I wouldn't have had the tool and the terminology to return to in any conversation. So I know the first one is telling my truth with compassion. And that's where it needs to start. I'm not feeling comfortable at doing that on a telephone or even on a Zoom call, frankly. But there'll be the opportunity because we're going to be back in Tennessee with my mom to see Laura. In fact, we're supposed to be sharing a room with her Armistice weekend when we come back from Toronto in Washington, D.C. for the Veterans March for Peace and the Peace Congress that's going to take place.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll stop with that. That maybe was a medium-sized story instead of a short one. But any thoughts that anyone would like to share, I would certainly welcome.
Yeah, I have some thoughts. And Sharon, I can see her. She's cooking over there. Would you like to go, Sharon?
Sure. I had the same thought you did about it, speak your truth with compassion, but linked closely for me was coming up, see the best in yourself and others.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever in way you can see the best in what she was trying to do or whatever it may, and see the best in her as you're sharing your truth. That just felt important.
Yes, thank you. Indeed, there's much to celebrate in that. Thank you.
And Bob, what comes up for me is, what is your purpose in wanting to speak with her about this?
My purpose is twofold. One is that I believe in the mission of the Oracle Institute, the intent for an intentional community there, and the potential that the Peace Pentagon has as a facility and a space to be significant in bringing peace into the world through conferences, all kinds of things. And so I believe in that mission, and I want to support that. Second is that I do appreciate the good I see in Laura in all that she's created thus far, and I see the pain that she is in herself, that she can't let go of some of her habits to be able to be more open-hearted to bring other people there to help her, because it's a one-man band. It's a one-man band. Happens to be woman, but it's a one-man band. And so my heart is in wanting her to be more peaceful. Right.
Wow, yeah, you know, we teach what we need to learn, right? So, it's a challenging place to be. I can see why you brought it up here, because it's not a firsthand witnessing. It's not a firsthand experience. Sometimes people leave an event and they talk among themselves, and then something becomes an issue that would maybe not have been as big an issue for one or more of those people.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so it doesn't actually feel good to me to bring up what other people say.
No, me neither.
So, you know, I'm not sure what speaking your truth would be like telling her what you heard, which I don't feel it's appropriate. If you're going to be seeing her and you support her fully, and you can ask her questions about how it's going and how she's feeling, and if she's, you know, feeling as peaceful as she'd like, and, you know, and support her, come from a place of just supporting her, period, without this story. That for me would be more in higher integrity in relationship to the agreements, at least.
Yeah. We didn't, well, we witnessed little glimpses of it firsthand in those planning meetings.
Well, then you can address that.
But what we heard from other people was over the top compared to her disrespect for other people and volunteers, lack of thanking them, respecting them, etc. And we did witness it firsthand 2 years ago when we were there for an open house on the 4th of July weekend in 16. And we were part of the planning. We were there 3 days in advance. We were fully in the whole time. And we watched her mom have an emotional and physical breakdown. She was pushing her mom so much, you know, somebody that's in her mid-80s. And so we witnessed it then. And Laura has said to me, you guys know what it was like at the open house 2 years ago. This was like 100 times worse as far as stress on me and everybody.
Well, then, yeah, so just work with what you know. And I would just, this is now personal. I'm noticing this is moving into a personal space for me of times when somebody might say, and I'm not the only one. Everybody else feels that way too, you know, or something like that. And it's like, what? You know, where did that come from? You know, it is unkind, I think, and not relevant, because you're reporting other people. But your story, your interaction, your ability to say, you know, I have been troubled. You could say, this is speaking of truth, I have been troubled by my experience on the planning committee after doing the Revolutionary Agreements workshop. And it felt a lot like it did 2 years before. And I had hoped that what we had given you was truly a personal path to peace. And I didn't feel that was true. And I really want to support you in having that. So, and then find out what she needs. Right? I mean, would that be enough?
Yeah, it's a start. I think it's the right handle to be a start, because I mean, when I was in Dominer and we had conversations with the two people in Dominer that were there, I was using the word, it's time for an intervention. I mean, for those of us that care about her and about the mission of the Institute and the associated branches of that, that it's time to have a sit down and have an intervention with her. And we're very close to one of the other members of the board. We know Olivia Rudd-Parr, another member of the board that you know. And so we're just like, there has to be something different than has been done in the past. And I think that, in my mind anyway, that's a little, I mean, I would, if I were involved in that, I'd want to live my part of the agreements in that conversation. But it's somewhat aside from the agreements as a way to enter into the conversation. Because Laura actually flew with the whole delegation to Sunrise Ranch. She missed the flight, and a number of the indigenous missed their flight, which different people have. She blames other people for why they missed their flight from Charlotte to Denver. And so they got in late when we had a big ceremony at the ranch, and we had indigenous at the ranch do rain dance, Native American dance and hula and all kinds of things. She and half the delegation walked in just as that was over. And so they were literally at the ranch for 13 hours because they left at 7 the next morning. And she stayed in the RV with us, but she was, completely exhausted. And then my conversation with her since then, a lot of what she reports about is complaining about what other people didn't do and how it didn't go as well as it should have because of other people. So, well, I appreciate everybody's input. We have to step our way through this a step at a time.
Yeah, and I would just say again, from the standpoint of the agreements, be with her from your own personal experience. And Sharon, it looks like you might have something to add to that, or maybe something different.
Sorry.
Oops, you're on mute, Sharon.
Yeah, I think that it's an ad, and that one of the things that might come out of the conversation is, it may be part of your truth that not only what you've, that actually people have given you feedback, and that you've told them to talk to her, and that you're wondering if she wants feedback, because she could ask people, she could do a survey if it was something where that's appropriate, or she could simply check in with people if she's interested in feedback, but you think people would have feedback. So
Yeah,
again, that may or may not make sense to go there when you're in the flow of this, but that's a way maybe to, when you spoke with the others and you mentioned maybe it's time were people open to that? And did you have permission kind of to share that they had spoken with you at all?
Yes and yes. And they, the ones in Dominer, it's a whole different relationship, because the Valley of Light that Laura is attempting to create, a community there, is supposed to be based on the principles of Dominer. And so that conversation was like, how can the leadership at Dominer be of assistance to her? And so that was good for me to exit and say, I wish you two were talking together. And they said, we can't reach out. She has to ask us. And I have since talked to her and told her that. And she has said that she's going to.
Okay.
Not affiliated with Dominer. Both Laura, in fact, Laura called me. So some of what you're suggesting, Sharon, has already taken place, because Laura called me and said, Leanne called me and talked to me the other day, and she was just distraught from the conversation. Both of them were distraught. So I've heard from both of them about that conversation. And that's when I took the moment with Laura to say, Laura, Leanne hasn't been through the Revolutionary Agreements weekend. You have. We have. And so I have to turn this back to suggesting that it doesn't sound like you and Leanne are done your conversation yet. That's what I'm hearing by hearing Leanne talk to me and you talk to me. I don't think your conversation is done yet. I don't need to be a part of that conversation. I wasn't there for 4 days. And she promised that she was going to do that, and we'll see.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, there's still this relationship of Noelle and I to her personally and to the Oracle Institute. I mean, we were talking for the last 6-7 months, we were talking about buying a cabin co-buying a cabin with this other woman, Leanne, to donate to the Oracle Institute that we would use occasionally when we're on the East Coast, and she could rent out Airbnb and make money with and have the title to. And Leanne said, I'm done. And so, Noelle and I are like,
there's a lot of effects there. You know, you have a lot of truth there to think about, how to talk about.
Well, I don't want to keep all the time for me. Thank you so much, everybody, for your
yeah. Thanks, Bob. Thanks for trusting us and the people who may be watching this video. Of course, I'll remind everybody that we keep everything here confidential, just between us, so that we can really support each other wholly. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Sure. Thanks, Bob. So, Sharon, is there anything up for you?
Well, I would just say that they're certainly supporting me in my work with my clients. I find that they just come up naturally in the course of whatever's going on with them. And it's like, oh yeah, well, I think there's a principle that applies here. Maybe let's talk about that. It happened today with someone. And it helps to go deeper into whatever is going on.
Sure.
And because the coaching is also all about living your purpose and being true to that, and what does that mean? So that's been fun.
Good.
And then I'm still exploring this relationship with the Unitarian Church.
Oh, right. Yeah.
In fact, I just had a thought insight while you started your conversation about what you're doing with Oracle, that they're in the middle of a transition year where they're getting a new minister. And they've had 2 failed searches. So this is like the 3rd year they've been trying to do this, and they decided this year to not try to search, but to have a year of discovery, they called it. So they're in this whole process, and I've been very peripheral to it. But I had the conversation about in some way offering revolutionary agreements. So it's occurring to me that might be actually of use to the team that's, trying to gel their leadership and understand their issues and find ways to move forward through them, which is kind of what they're saying they're doing. So, yeah.
So Sharon, we have a little bit of experience with this happening at another church, where the head minister told the leadership they were going to do it. And let me just say that it's an entirely different experience than when people voluntarily sign up.
Right.
And so, of course, you would do it locally, so that's different because this person did it. One of the graduates did it through Zoom, so it didn't even have that yummy. Didn't have an opportunity to create that yummy effect. But part of the problem was that the leadership was at odds with each other. Right. So,
and I actually don't know enough. So it may just take me some time. I'm really letting this relationship evolve, and we've been birding this fall. We haven't been there that much. She hasn't called on me yet to get involved because they haven't gotten their act together to do the program direction yet. She's moving into a new role, so now we're going to Spain for 2 weeks. So when I get back, I was just, we'll see.
Yeah, I love thinking of the leadership core groups of movements, of churches and so on, using the agreements. I think one of the best examples of that was Marty McMahon, Reverend Marty McMahon, who ran a huge congregational church in Boulder. And she actually took the agreements to a board meeting, off a board retreat, and had it be part of the retreat process.
That would be a good way to do it, yeah.
Yes, and then, and she said, do we want to adopt one of them? Or maybe we'll come away this weekend saying we want to adopt one of them. Well, and they adopted all of them. And then they suggested that she do sermons on every one of them over the next year. So it was huge. And then she wrote a book called Living Grace that's so beautiful.
Wow, what's it called?
Living Grace.
Okay.
I think it's on the Agreements in the Agreements Institute store. It links to Amazon.
Okay.
It's beautiful, and it's a Christian or a progressive Christian orientation.
Mm-hmm.
So her, she has, I can't remember what she calls them, but she's got 4 like activities at the end of each agreements chapter.
Uh-huh.
They're stunning. They're beautiful. And I've had some graduates who have used her book as well as Revolutionary Agreements when they've done their programs.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. I like your patience with it. Yeah. And
that's the space I'm trying to be in now. It's like I'm not, and that's actually what I was coaching my client today. It's like, don't try to do anything at all, ever again. Instead, see where you want to, what you want to do. You know, where's your energy going? Let it go there.
Yes, it's true. So,
and be patient, because, you know, I'm not accomplishing huge things right now. But yesterday, my daughter called with the baby, and she was vomiting. You know, she had it coming out all over, and the baby's on the bed crying, and her husband's at work. And, Mom, can you come? So an hour and a half down to Baltimore, I'm there. You know, took care of the baby for her, and she recovered. I guess it was food poisoning or something.
Yeah. So I would say, though, that was a huge accomplishment.
Really?
Yes.
Be here.
Yes, be here, be present for our beloveds.
It's fabulous.
Yeah, it's good. And I'm in that same situation. So I had the best summer of my life, except for summer camp in 8th grade. I have to say.
That was a good year. Yeah.
It was a great experience. This summer I played with Glenn a lot, and we saw our son almost every day.
How fun is that?
And he's been writing essays for medical school, and I got to review them, edit them for him. So I got to know him at a depth that there's no other way I could have gotten to know him. I mean, they ask questions, deep questions, that really have to do with how he became who he is now.
Yeah. And
what his vision is of the future. So, gosh, it was good.
Yeah, that's fabulous.
And I had the time. I didn't say no. Anytime he said, can you review my essays? I need to send this one out by 5 o'clock. It would be like, okay.
Of course.
Of course.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah. So it's good. And if I didn't tell you this last month, I discovered what I'm doing next when somebody this summer said, and so what are you doing? And I said, I just completed a 3-year project, and I'm taking the next year off. And I was like, oh, yes, that's what's happening. So I'm calling it a sabbatical. We'll see what it turns into. Mm-hmm. And, in the back of my mind, what I know is that this chapter of certification, this particular method is complete. And I believe that those of you who have come through the program are going to be in the exact right place at the right time to seed the agreements where they're needed in the world. And it may just be speaking to, and Bob, I think of you a lot and get the chills when I think of this, because you're in the middle of so many movements. And all it takes is saying, there are some organizing principles that your core group might really love and give you some stability at the core. And then you might want to share those principles with the movement. And when you have time, I'd love to share them with you. And that's it. I mean, I'm not talking about you having to do a 12-week program, although you could, or a retreat. But
or you could call upon the network of people, as you, and bring any of us in to help people.
That's right. In fact, I had
somebody do that with each other.
I'm going to be I'm going to be meeting with a woman who works in prisons and wanted to know if this could be brought into prisons. And I thought, well, I could put it out to the team. And then what else? Was there something last week, Glenn? Do you remember what it was? And I said, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. And Glenn said, well, why don't you ask one of your graduates to do it? And it was giving a speech it's like, right, absolutely. So, it's good. I talked to Patricia today.
Actually, just a quick note, Meryl, I would be interested in learning more about the prisons thing, because my client today is looking for a capstone project and something to do, and she wants to do something inspiring for her master's in organization development. And
Okay.
she wants to work with inspiring people, and as you know, who she can learn from. And so I could see some connections here.
Yeah, and that woman is
Doing this.
very active in a number of arenas. She's a Muslim leader, so in an area that's got a lot of strife right now, and so yeah, I'll see if I can.
That would be a cool thing, because she's looking. Today's assignment when she left was look out and see who do you really admire, that's doing work you really admire and respect, and would think, oh my God, I would love to be affiliated with that and learn and contribute. And that's where you want to go do your project.
Yes, right.
It's like,
right. Good, Sharon.
Yeah.
Well, I'll go see if I can find the information about this and see if I can get you all connected.
Yep. And she doesn't have to get paid to either.
Yeah, well, I don't know that this woman, I don't know whether this was paid or not paid.
It doesn't need to be a job.
Very good.
I would be interested in how that progresses, if and how it progresses, because I believe I know that the church leadership that you're talking about that was involved in that, Marion, and we're very close to that. We're members of that CSL as well, and
right.
They are very connected to working with, and they have a very active Toastmasters group that are kind of the sponsors of a Toastmasters group that's in one of the prisons in that county. And so now that they have a number of the members of the leadership there, certainly the minister is very involved in that. So I'd be interested in how this progresses a little bit, because it could be replicated or added to or shared over to them to be of benefit to them as well.
Yeah, I'm just looking to see if I've got the name of this person. No, it's in an email. I was looking in my messages, but I'm pretty sure it's. I just can't remember her name, because it's a name I'm not familiar with. Manal, I think it is, but I'll find it. Falkery, Manal Falkery, I think her name is. Falkhoury. Let me just look for a quick second into my email.
Yeah, if you could forward it and just put, prison connection over.
Yes, right.
Title, then I'll.
Let's see what I've got
after
today.
I get back from Spain.
Yeah, I'm just looking quickly here so I can just pull this up so I don't forget it. This is your introduction. Yeah, Manal. Okay, I'll do that. Okay, I'll keep that around. And all right, good, wonderful. All right, so how can we, so I told you about the sabbatical. I'm going to keep doing these roundtables. I don't know where my group of 6 is that I just had. I mean, I know kind of where they are. This one's in Spain already. Kim is in Spain. That one's doing this. This one, Walt is. I talked to Walt today. He's starting his Revolutionary Agreements program in Kauai, but he works during the day, and this is very much in the middle of the day for him. Let's see. Joseph was supposed to start his program September 19th, but he didn't start announcing it until 2 weeks before the program. And so he really needs more lead time. So now he's changing to January, and I hope he's hearing what I'm suggesting about lead time and all the many, many ways he can let people know, because he's very well liked and respected in the CSL community in Canada. So, but he doesn't, I don't think, have any marketing experience at all. So it's like starting from scratch with him. That.
Is he in Toronto?
No, he is in, I think he's in Edmonton.
Oh.
Let me look. No, he's not in Toronto. I know that. But whoops. Put my earbud back in. There he is. Oh, no, I don't have it. He's Divine Heart Ministry is the name of his organization.
Okay. I was thinking if he was in Toronto, maybe we could have a cup of coffee.
Oh, yeah. He's such a beautiful being. It's hard for him to be on this call also because of his circumstances. So we'll see. As long as somebody shows up, I'm happy to connect in once a month and just see how we can support each other. So is there anything else that either of you need, or how can we be of service to each other, or how can I be of service to you?
I think this was really nice call. It was nice to go a little bit deeper, you know, and into specifics. But I'm not feeling any needs right now.
Okay, good. I do have something to share with you based on what you said about your coaching client and patience. A few weeks ago, I think maybe a month now, I was really trying to organize things and put things in order and make sense out of what was happening in my life at that moment. And I got this great epiphany that I'll share with you, and you may use it if you like it.
Okay.
Grace is the great organizer.
Ooh, I like that.
Grace with a capital G is the great with a capital G organizer. O, capital O. And
Boy,
I'll tell you what.
That's not for my clients. That's for me.
So every time something a little stressful starts raising its, old little head, I know because it's getting withered, more and more withered, that little stressful thing. I go, Grace is the great organizer. And it's true. And, that, of course, leads to seeing the blessings in disguise. Totally.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it's so relaxing to know.
It is. And it is very much relaxing to know and to allow.
Yes.
To allow. Yeah.
So now if I'm late,
right.
If we're leaving for something late, I go, well, who knows what we're going to get to experience or what we didn't get to experience by being on the road 30 minutes later.
Yeah, divine timing, always.
Grace is the great.
Actually, well, I don't know if we want to stay on longer, but I would love to hear a little bit about, you just came back from Damenhur, what that was.
I'd love to too, Bob.
I have never been there. I have friends that have been, and I've known about it for a long time, and it, find it fascinating.
Yeah, I'd be glad to. I borrowed this office at the senior center with the promise that I'd walk out at 5:00. But it really is. I think it's very worthy of people that are on a path of discovery and seeking in a number of different ways, whether that's about living in community, whether that's approaching it from the fact that it's an art colony, from the fact that they're doing what they call spiritual experimentation about different belief systems. They have their own creation ideas, but it is, we're really, really happy that we went back a second time. We were there 2 years ago. There were moments when were briefed by some of the same people, like the head of the university, on things like their selfic technology.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of a 3-hour session with them, Noel and I looked at each other and said, did they tell us that last time we were here? And part of it was that we were paying more attention this time. We're different people this time, 2 years later, and we are aware of the fact that they are revealing more to the world. Damenhur in the world, they call it, their movement to share is really advancing. And the woman that we went with the last 2 times she's been through all their mystery schools. Jennifer Ivanko, she's starting a mystery school in Pittsburgh. There's already one in the Denver Boulder area, and there's one in Sarasota, Florida, and one in California. And so there's a lot of outreach that's going on. And it was some people we spent, as we did the last time, an overnight in the Temple for Humankind, Hall of Mirrors, and we were able to go and meditate in different other halls of the temple. And there were people that they think they had conversations with this now deceased founder. They had interactions with ETs. Other people had all kinds of dreams and things like that. I didn't have those experiences, but I also know that I was gaining from being there in the experience with other people, and that the whole time there is really for me a moment of being open to all of the different possibilities. And my left brain wants to ask questions and does ask questions about the founding of the place. How did you get here? What have been the challenges along the way? What is the governance now? How have finances worked? All of those questions that I feel compelled to ask so that we can share with other places. We're actually doing a briefing tonight for 2 hours at Sunrise Ranch of everybody at the ranch. Of course, everybody's been asking us about it at lunch and dinner, but we're actually going to do a formal program in 2 hours from now. And so what I can share of that with Laura to be of benefit for the development of the community there is, something, one of the reasons that we were there. And it's a place where the urgency of their work to support the advancement of humankind. I mean, they have all kinds of different ways of describing that. It might be a little weird for people, like there's alternative timelines, and we're on this timeline, and there are others that are having activities on other timelines, and we look across those timelines. There are people here that do dream culture. So some of it might be a challenge for a number of us to accept in the details, but their commitment to experimenting with how to live in community and now sharing that with the world for the world to benefit by applying in their own ways any of that work is amazing. And I'll just give you one quick fun venue for us. We did not do this in 16, and this year we did a clay course. And so for one whole afternoon, we were with one of their artist instructors, and they said, I don't want to spoil it for you totally when you go there, but they have courses that are like 2 days long doing this. In fact, we're talking with Jennifer actually about doing a 5-day retreat at Sunrise Ranch next spring, which would be Dominer's 2-day dream course, which we took, their 2-day inner senses course, which we took twice, and a full day of clay. And the way they, my left brain would say, I'm not creative and I'm not a good painter and I don't know how to do any of this stuff. And for me, going into it totally open-minded, the full set of instruction from the instructor was for us to do some breathing and for us to stare at our hands and be in our heart and recognize that our heart can communicate with our hands without any information in the brain or being filtered by the brain or life's experiences or life's limitations that we put on ourselves, but just to look at our hands and recognize them as an instrument of our heart. And then we did a few other very few preliminary other things where we went out and stood by statues with our eyes closed and let our hands have our heart feel those pieces of work. And then we went back into the workshop and he put a 10-pound block of clay in front of us and said, okay, do this. And it was amazing what we did. It was just, and there was that, which I know you all know, the Tibetan monks, mandala, they travel the country and they do these beautiful mandalas and they sweep it all together when they're done to talk about the non-permanency of things. There was a part of the experience that was that as well. And because, by the time I was done, I was kind of looking at it going, damn, I'm good. And so there was more of the afternoon that provided the opportunity to say yes, and it also isn't yours. It's a co-creation, spirit, heart, and your hands, and it's not something for your ego to say, damn, I'm good. I didn't have to do that. And so it was, and that was one afternoon of 12 days there.
Wow. Yeah.
Spectacular. And Darlis, you all know Darlis. She was, Darlis went with the group. We had 17 in the group. 11 of the people were people that we brought to the party, and one through my Pachamama work, and all the others through the Co-Creators Convergence. And Jennifer just told us a couple days ago that Darlis already has 17 people lined up to go again in the spring. So,
wow.
And we've already got our wait list for the next time we go. So it was part of the arrange. So it was spectacular. Any opportunity that you have to interact with their work.
I did their past life workshop up in the Boston area at one point.
Wow, with someone from Dominer?
Yeah.
Okay. Shama or Prodlo or?
Yeah, the first one, I think. Shama. Yep. And Sandy Corcoran is the woman that my friend knows really well, and I know pretty well, that goes back and forth and brings groups.
Yep. How was that experience for you?
It was great, actually. I still have like one of the picture I drew, and periodically it comes up, as to these past lives that emerged and what I get from them in this life. Why that would be for me to know right now in my life. Now we have a little bit of time. I'll just share one. I was a baker in the French Revolution. And I was not on the front lines, but, I baked the bread and I supported the revolution. And so my baking, my place was like the place everyone came and hung out and, talked and had bread.
Wow. Shared bread.
Yeah. So, that was kind of neat. It's because I do see myself in this, like, behind the scenes. However, I'm totally not a cook or a baker. My daughter is, and my husband is.
Been there, done that, Sharon. Been there, done that.
Like, I don't do that part of it, but the other stuff I can really relate to, supporting the revolution.
So, Bob, I get that it's 5 of, I think, right? And you need to be out of there.
Yeah. Get out of here.
So, thank you both.
Thank you.
Yeah, so much for this love and joy and all of the mystery ahead of us all. So I'll see you again next month, if not before.
The mystery.
So we've got a raise the bartender. We've got a raise at the end of this month.
Oh, are you on for this month?
I'm on for this month.
Yay!
So, what's the date on that one? Will I be back? I might be back.
Is it October 21st?
It's maybe, because it's the 4th Thursday.
1, 2, 3, 4. 25th. It's the 25th. It's the day that we get off the cruise ship from Havana.
Okay. Wonderful.
In Havana or back home?
Well, neither.
We're back in Florida.
We're back in Florida, but we get off the cruise ship when we head to Key West, where we'll be for a few days with a Unity minister who's invited us there.
Wonderful.
Yes, so many blessings.
To that, remind me, if you will, with a note maybe of which agreement we're on. Or
It's the one. It's seeing the best. Is that the second one in the third area?
Yes.
Seeing the best in myself and others. Yes.
10th month, 10th agreement.
Yes, it's the 10th.
See the best in myself and others.
Well, good. That'll be perfect for me, won't it?
Yes, as a matter of fact.
We'll be,
according to Sharon.
Yep. We'll be at my mom's relieving Rick for the week, so we'll be in one place with good Wi-Fi. We'll look forward to it.
Good. Okay. Much love to you both. I'll see you, Bob, for sure that day. And
probably me too. I should be back, but yeah, I'll be
wonderful.
Back.
Oh, have a great trip, both of you.
Yeah, thank you.
And you.
Thanks. All right, all of us.
Continue.
Okay. Bye for now.
Bye.
Cover the world. Share your light. Bye-bye.
Yes.